Yo pienso que para trabajar online no es solamente como, por ejemplo, un blog, que una persona hace un blog, ya hace una nota rápida y ya está. Yo no veo eso como periodismo duro, veo eso como hacer un análisis de qué está pasando, contar una historia. Pero periodismo hay que tener mucho más dedicación, es como un hijo que pones online y tienes de alimentarlo y cuidarlo y mirar a tu audiencia cómo la comunican o reciben o reagen. Yo pienso que yo trabajo con periodismo de investigación, que todavía no se puede hacer solo hacer un blog de investigación. Entonces es una cosa puramente periodística que profundiza mucho. Y también pienso que los datos y la capacidad de hacer periodismo a través de los datos se ayuda mucho a tener un cuerpo mucho más fuerte y así sólido de reportaje, que es con los datos te cuentan una historia real. No es una opinión, no es una tendencia, es lo que pasa. Entonces ahí pienso que sí, yo pienso que la internet abre las posibilidades a que toda la gente pueda opinar y pueda decir lo que piensa, sea verdad, correcto o no. Y es un poco distinto del periodismo, que se intenta decir una cosa que es real, que es fundamentada y si tienes una base de datos, mejor.
The thing with the internet is that those journalists who just sit in a newsroom and they just get a press release and retype it, they're dead. They're dinosaurs, they're the past. Because people can get that now on the internet anyway. They don't need a journalist to do that. So in the newsrooms that we work with, we're trying to tell journalists that they need to evolve up the food chain. They need to start adding value to the information they get. And that means analysis and checking. And not just checking that it's correct, but checking what it means in normal people's lives. Because often our government officials and big corporate officials will put a lot of energy into saying what sounds like important stuff, but it's actually meaningless in normal people's lives.
I think that, the ecosystem that we live in, I belong to the set of people who say they are from the internet, right? And it's not that people have short attention spans, it's just they've got a lot of things competing for their attention. That doesn't mean that if something grabs their attention, it's fleeting or that it'll quickly wander away. It's that interesting things grab a hold very quickly and very strongly. And so if you have something that is really important, you'll get the entire internet looking at it for, however long that takes to play out. I mean, you'll see controversies that pop up, in particular communities, which will rage for, days or weeks or whatever, and still retain everybody's attention. Say something like a YouTube video, has a drop-off rate of, everybody, 70% of people fall off in the first third of the video or whatever, right? Well, maybe you should have made a more interesting video. I mean, the fact that there are other things competing for your attention means that you should be better at what you do, not assume that people's attentions are fickle or whatever. And I think that, part of that, the whole show your work mantra is part of that, right? You need to give people not just the bullet point or whatever is important, but actually be able to articulate the entire path that you took to get to that point. Be able to educate people and give them the reasons why this thing is important and actually be able to show that to them as opposed to just telling them. And so, I think that there are people who are obsessed. I mean, the thing about the internet is that it allows people to organize themselves around communities of interest, fundamentally, right? So, I mean, you have people who even reinforce their interests amongst another group. So I think that is exactly the opposite of lesson that people should take away from digital media. Sure, there's some things that are fleeting or whatever, and you can actually make a margin on that, right? I mean, you can, BuzzFeed, has people's attention for very short amounts of time, but managed to build a business out of it. It's all cat pictures and memes, and they're like, okay, fine. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a place for something like ProPublica or any of these sorts of deep analysis investigations. I think that that's a misconception about how the internet works.
So you need not just independent journalists, but you need diversity of voices. So you even need the crazy people on the fringes to have a strong voice so that they can articulate and act as a safety valve so that people know what's happening in their societies. I come from South Africa, which is a fairly well-developed country, but all the media is concentrated largely in 4 large companies that own the media. And they don't cover anything outside of the big cities. So suddenly, when villages and with small towns started revolting against the government, burning houses, burning police vehicles and army vehicles, people were amazed. They said, where did this anger come from? No one knew that it was there. We need independent journalists embedded at grassroots level so that they can be the voices of their communities and their societies, but also so that they can act as a watchdog. Because in the same way that we say large government is dangerous, very large corporations who control entire parts of the economy, so not just banking, but they'll control banking, media, healthcare, health insurance, they suddenly start shaping our lives in much the same way that governments do. And if they also control the media, which they usually do, that means that they're never going to be looking into their own affairs. So we need independence just to keep everyone honest.